Hello, everyone, and good morning. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to you, Dr. Ryan. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here, Amber. I feel like we just did this.
Yes, Ryan and I were just on a half an hour meeting doing some last minute planning for the upcoming Elevate Entrepreneurship Summit that he is a headline speaker for. And it is the event that I'm hosting in Boulder, Colorado, September 10th, 11th, and 12th to help entrepreneurs elevate. Not just their mindset, but also their strategic plan, elevate in every sense of the word, because as you are all aware, wow, there's a lot going on in the world right now. And just when you think you are getting into a rhythm with it, another asteroid hits and knocks you off course. And those who exercise the most resilience and the best abilities to adapt in the moment and reposition and keep going are the ones that are going to rise in influence and impact during this season. And that's actually why I wanted to bring Dr. Ryan Williamson back into a conversation with me, because what I'm observing so much, but one of the things that I'm observing at the end of the day, like the root of it, is that people are having a hard time coping with everything that's going on. And it is bringing up all of your feelings of unworthiness and that feeling of, I just don't know if I can take another step. It just feels so hard. It's so much to process. There's so much to move through. And Ryan and I are going to say, we got to tackle this thing first, your brain. So Ryan, thank you for engaging in a conversation with me. I really want to drill into what you as a board certified neurologist have to say about all of this so that we can help these entrepreneurs to kind of diffuse some of that brain fog, some of that heaviness, depression, overwhelm, and really step back into an aligned place of clarity, focus, perseverance, discipline, so that they can, produce more to support their family and their community. So Ryan, I'm gonna open up with a big question. Is that cool with you?
Always.
The big question is, what is on your mind and your heart to share with us? Humanity is listening in. What's the thing from your perspective, your expertise, based on all of the research that you're constantly doing? What do you really want to share with us today?
Well, first off, thank you for the intro, and I'm happy to be here again with your audience. Amber, everything that you mentioned, or at least almost everything, the pace of the world we live in, the accelerating changes, feeling like we can never get ahead, these are all external. Now, the feeling of maybe never getting ahead is an internal dialogue, but this is a result of this ever-changing environment that we live in. And that's not slowing down anytime soon. And ask anybody that's ever lived through whatever changed in their lifetime or whatever the big technological revolution was, it felt the same to them too. When you go look at a history book, and it's even more challenging for us today because that technology curve is on the upward slope of kind of the exponential part of the curve. And we've never lived through anything like this as humanity. And so, we think and talk about AI and, you and I were just texting about a robot in China that it might be able to bear offspring, or at least to house gestation, which,
I have to tell you, that put me into a bit of a panic. Like my heart started racing and the dialogue was like, I don't want to be a part of this. It was really interesting to observe my reaction. I had to immediately, I'm in the Rocky Mountains. This is a real background. I'm at my cabin. I closed my laptop. I text Dr. Ryan. I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm like going to the forest. And I took a long walk and I just reconnected with nature, because I thought that is so far reaching, a robot carrying a human baby. But please continue.
So as strange, crazy, and weird as all of that sounds, this is the world we live in, and it's not going to slow down anytime soon. So that naturally creates anxiety because of how our brains are wired and how we're all designed. So that's kind of the bad news. The good news, however, and the paradigm that I want everyone to understand and know is that you have ultimate control over how you feel and respond to any and all of this. Because as Amber said, what matters is this right here, right between your ears. And your brain is the most complex entity, organ, whatever you want to call it, structure in the known universe, in my opinion. I think there are a lot of people that share that opinion, that study the brain, but it's your supercomputer, and it's how you process everything that happens in the external world. So understanding that you have agency and control over how you respond to all of these things, and B, that everything outside of your brain, by definition, is external and is going to change, and you can't control. And it would be foolish to try, because there's no point. We have no control over things that are happening that are outside of our control, by definition. So I encourage people to turn inward and to help them understand how their brain works, how their body works, and how to optimize that so that they can build resilience for everything that's coming that, again, is not slowing down. So high level, that's my general message, and we can certainly go a million directions with that and dissect how to do that.
Absolutely. Well, so for those of you who are tuning in live, watching the replay, this is actually the kickoff to a 2-hour live stream that I'm hosting. Now, some of you might have a live stream hangover because you were on Hormozy's live stream all weekend long. So I feel we might be getting some extra replay, folks, but this is the most important conversation that I believe we can be having right now. Ryan's going to be on for a 30-minute segment. We're going to move into Chad Lefevre, who's a critical and design thinker and strategist, doubling down on creativity. We have Dave Moreno coming in after that, who is the badass business coach. It's really the cross section of health, wealth, and relationships. And then we are ending the live stream with Darryll Stinson, who is a TEDx speaking coach, talking about self-expression. So we're in this conversation for the next couple of hours, at least I am. And it starts here. And I want to zero in on what Ryan was talking about, how you actually do have full choice of your brain. And I wasn't intending to share this story, but we're in it now. So yesterday, when I saw the LinkedIn article of the robot carrying the human baby, I texted Ryan, I texted 2 or 3 other people, and I went to the forest. And this was after observing Hormozy's weekend launch, the biggest launch in history. Extremely impressed that he was able to generate $150 million plus over the weekend, hit a world record for selling 3 million copies inside of 2 days. It's just outstanding. Rooted in a lot of foundational internet marketing principles that have been taught for 20 years. So it was neat for me to be able to understand exactly what he was doing, when and why. That we'll dissect that another time, but that was bringing up a lot for me about internet marketing and how much it's evolved, and who the influencers are that are paving the way for everybody else who is new and hopeful, hoping that entrepreneurship is the right path for them. Then to get this article about AI on top of everything that you all know that I've already been immersing myself in over the last several months. And what I observed, as I just mentioned, is my heart started racing and I started getting overwhelmed. And I went on a walk in the forest and I started to, number one, and I'm going to give you my framework. Again, I wasn't planning on this, and this is also Dr. Ryan's time, but I know he's going to have a lot to say about this. So the first thing I did is I immediately kind of stepped outside of my experience and I said, what am I observing right now? Okay, I'm observing my heart is elevated. I'm observing I'm overwhelmed. I'm observing that I'm walking in the forest, but I'm not really present. I'm not here. I'm someplace else. I'm just in extreme thinking. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about, how much humanity is going to change and what conversations I'm going to have with my son and how the hell am I going to prepare him for this future? And I'm thinking about my clients and how much I want to see them succeed and how the world, all the stuff that I had been storing up all weekend was very present to me. And I said, where is this coming from? So this is the next part of my framework, is I thought, okay, this is coming from a belief that I stored a long time ago when I was a kid that created an emotion that's creating a thought that is about to create an action that's going to produce my outcome. I mean, this is like literally the sequence that is human design. So there is some belief that I have that is causing me to have extreme thinking and feeling the elevation of my heart beating and feeling doom and gloom, I'll be honest. And when I labeled that process, Ryan, I started to get control of it. When I labeled like, oh, catastrophizing and extreme thinking and chaos is familiar to me because that's the environment that I was raised in as a kid. And I have to take responsibility that I am propelling that in this moment because that's what's familiar to me. That is what's wired deep inside of my brain to do. Somebody else, Ryan, would have looked at that article with the AI baby going like, this is awesome. How fun, how playful, how exciting. And I'm over here like, oh my gosh, what does this all mean? And that's what I want to highlight here is that we each are going to have our own reaction based on things that how we perceived the world as kids. But now, if you can understand how this process works, when it starts to show up again, you can take a beat, label it, remove yourself from it, and then make a conscious choice of, okay, before I had a choice, and this was just my operating pattern with no awareness, maybe I would have had a glass of wine that night to just calm down those emotions. Maybe I would have called and vented to a friend. Maybe I would have ruminated on this for days or weeks, losing months of my life over it. And instead, cut it off right at the head, take a walk, do some breathing, ground into what I can control. And then I didn't have the glass of wine. I didn't ruminate on it. I actually journaled by a river. I laughed and I went home and I cooked myself dinner and had the best night. So I know that was long, but I wanted to give people a bit more detail and a framework of how much your amygdala can sort of hijack you into this experience. And it can lose days or weeks or months of your life and take you away from what's real, what's present, instead of labeling it, rewiring, and, having a different life experience. So Ryan, the floor is yours. Tell me what your experience is of all of that I just submitted publicly for the whole world.
First off, Amber, you get an A+ for your Transcend Health homework. So Amber is a part of my Transcend Health community, and we talk about these things all the time. So I'm very proud of her for going through this in spite of what, again, is a very stressful moment. And Amber, you hit the nail on the head because, again, we all encounter stressors, and these things are external, and it's not the events that matter. It's the meaning that we attach to the event.
Yeah.
Period. And we all bring a different meaning into different experiences and circumstances because of our upbringing, our life experience, our childhood, our relationships, our jobs, and so on. And so I think one of the very first steps that I tell people is to just know how you're designed and know how you're wired. And a start of that is something that Amber and I talk about a lot, and that's what's called our negativity bias. And whether you know this or not, your brain generates about 70,000 thoughts a day, which is an insane amount of thoughts. I mean, even to think about, it's a very high volume. And 80% of those are negative. And that's your default state. That's
insane?
It is. And you might think, well, why is that? And that program is there to keep you safe. And really, it was more so there to keep your ancestors safe. And the example that I love to give is if your ancestors were trying to find shelter for the night and they saw a figure in the distance that might have resembled a lion, it would have behooved them for safety to avoid the silhouette or the figure and just assume that it was something dangerous, even if the next morning they found out it was a rock or whatever. Because had they not done that, and it was in fact a lion, and they were eaten or severely injured, then your lineage and gene pool ended there, and then you wouldn't be watching the Elevate series with me and Amber. So that's why it would. That's why that mechanism's there. But we all inherited this ancient brain, and our biological evolution moves very slowly. But again, our social and our technological evolution moves at just this rapid pace we're talking about. And that's part of why this feels so overwhelming. So I think just framing it in a way, first off, to know, A, how are you designed? B, what are your predispositions? and C, understanding that these things are going to happen and they're all external when in fact you are safe. Now, I really appreciate you sharing this, Amber, because you're highlighting perfectly what going through this sort of sympathetic overdrive or fight or flight mechanism is actually like for people, and we've all experienced it. But again, this fight or flight mode that we go into is again designed to get you out of trouble. So say your ancestors did walk up on that lion, or maybe one just showed up out of nowhere that they couldn't anticipate. This ancient system turns on your fear center, and it tenses your muscles, and it makes you more active, more stressed, but more ready to basically fight off a predator or an invader or something like this to get you out of danger. The trouble with that is that whether it's an article on your newsfeed or an actual imminent physical danger, your brain doesn't know the difference. Mm-hmm. So when we encounter a triggering email, or maybe a comment on social media, or a difficult conversation with the loved one, or whatever, just insert external stressor here, our brains and our bodies are designed to go through this process, which literally robs you of the ability to critically think about what's happening and to attach meaning to it. Because when this happens, Amber referenced our amygdala, which is the fear center in the brain, the connections to your frontal lobe, and in particular your prefrontal cortex, which is where all the higher level stuff happens. You get to think and be creative and have ideas and all this stuff. That goes away. And so you're stuck in this reactive safety mode where all you can do is try to get yourself out of danger, but you don't even have the ability to think that way because you're just reacting. Now that's the bad news, but again, that's just those are the facts. The good news is that you can do what Amber's done, and you can train yourself to use that stress as a cue to then observe yourself and start to go through this process of objective feedback and say, wait a minute, what's really going on? Yep. Why am I experiencing this? And how can I attach a different meaning or really understand or put this into context and build in some of these healthy habits around how I can cope with this or navigate it and not let this take control over my life? Because the reality is that the more you allow your brain to stay in that default mode and stay in stress mode, not only does that not help you in the moment, but you are literally training your brain to anticipate that same stress in the future. And believe it or not, you're actually rewiring the structure, the literal physical structure of your brain to anticipate more of that stress in the future. And you are less likely to be in control when you encounter the next thing or the next email or the next article about who knows what in the future. So this process or this property of your brain called neuroplasticity is incredibly useful, but it works in both directions. So you can either let yourself, you're right, you can either let yourself stay kind of in this reactive, stressed state where you're just a passenger essentially in your own body, which I think is what most people experience day to day. At least that's been my experience. And the statistics or the data show that at least in our country, in the United States, about 50% of Americans report feeling stressed every day. 75% of Americans report feeling stressed sometime in the last month. And Amber, those are just the people that are aware of it, number one. And number two, that are brave enough to share that information with somebody. So in reality, and in my clinical experience, those numbers are much higher. So again, if you don't think this is something that impacts you, I assure you that there's a good chance that it does on some level. So,
well, and that's why I wanted to just put it out there. I think I'm known as somebody who courageously shares it the way it really is. That's my authenticity that shines through. And it was a journey to get here. But now I know the value in putting the truth out there, because not many people would want to talk about, oh my gosh, I was catastrophizing this weekend. What about you? But I'm trying to normalize it, and I recognize too that not everybody will identify with my experience. I was raised in a very chaotic environment. That was normal to me. And so, whether chaos was present or not, there was a part of me that created chaos because that was comfortable to me. So as soon as I became aware of that, I had to rewire and unwind that over the last couple of years. And it's been such an incredible journey to experience life that isn't chaotic. It's very strange. It's like walking on Mars. And to have a sense of those feelings in a time where legitimately the world is chaotic is really interesting. That only goes to further prove the point that you can rewire your reality. And all I knew as I was aging is like, it was exhausting living as a firefighter 24/7. Like all of the chaos and relationships and clients and the business and internally what I was experiencing and feeling, that's just how I was raised. That was normal. It wasn't my choice, right? But then as soon as I became aware of it, I did have a choice. And that's the important part that I want to bring out to each of you today is to whatever degree you're aware of what's going on. I had this instinct that it was possible to actually live a joyful, fulfilling life genuinely, not just what I tried to convince myself of and the way that I was trying to justify, oh yeah, sure, I'm happy. Everything looks good on the outside, but on the inside, I was emotionally trapped. And we'll talk about that more deeper into this week. Actually, I have a pretty raw post series that's about to come out in the next 2 weeks, going into the layers of this as we move toward our September 9th anthology book launch. So with Infinite Impact, we have 12 contributing authors. Dr. Ryan is one of them, all sharing their honest stories of getting into alignment. And there are stories that we are all coming out with that have not been told publicly before that are going to help you feel less alone in the world, more hope and faith, more connection, and give you more of a roadmap to move forward in a way that feels right for you instead of, following all of the shiny objects everywhere. So, Dr. Ryan, I know we have, 6 or 7 minutes before Chad is going to be popping in, and I want to zero in on an email that I recently got, and a woman had said this quote, "Sometimes it feels like life is always pushing against me." And this is a beautiful soul who's out in the world every day trying to make the world a better place and sharing her story and sharing her gifts and her talents. And it is true, when I look at some of the things that she's experienced, it is just one thing after another. And I, of course, can certainly relate to that. And I know that most humans can, okay? But I want to zero in on that for a moment. What would you say? What would your prescription be to somebody who's just saying like, gosh, I keep trying to do the right thing, but it just keeps pulling me back down? What choice do we have there? What do we do in a moment like that? Can I put you on the spot and ask you that?
Of course. So in addition to, again, understanding this default state, as we've said, there are a handful of things that we can all do at baseline that help build that resilience to ensure that we aren't reacting, but that we remain in control and remain proactive. And there are really 4 large categories that do this independently. And I call them my core 4. Amber knows these, or she's at least heard me say them more than once. But those are in no particular order. Those are making sure that we achieve quality sleep, that we're fueling our bodies with quality or proper nutrition, that we're moving every single day, and that we're effectively managing stress. And of those 4, by the way, the first 3 get you 90% of the way there for stress management. But there are specific techniques, like Amber mentioned, like journaling or breathing through something or thinking objectively. But these are, we go any number of ways with this, Amber. If you want me to do some quick tips or things that people can throw in, I'm happy to.
Absolutely. I want to make sure that people feel they have something actionable they can move forward with. And also, Dr. Ryan is publishing a book called The Incredible Brain. You can pre-order it right now on Amazon. It's available also on September 9th, and you can come and see him live at the summit. We will post a link or something across the screen or in comments so that you know where you can come and go deeper in this conversation with us. But yeah, please continue, Ryan.
So again, just baseline building that resilience through sleep, nutrition, movement, stress management. That is something I would encourage everybody to look into and do. And it's something I talk about openly for free on social media. We have a great Rewire series that's open where I've interviewed a bunch of other thought leaders that do this too. So plenty of free content. Again, if you can make it to Boulder, would love to see you there too. But the quickest, easiest way to interrupt stress in the moment when you realize it's happening is just a simple breathing exercise. And all you need to do is take a slow, deep inhale through your nose till your lungs are completely full. And once your lungs are fully expanded, you take a second brief, sharp inhale through your nose and let it all go through your mouth, just slowly, and just empty it all the way out. That is the fastest way I
do that
know
often. Thanks to you.
I do too. I mean, I'm not immune to this by any means. I'll spare everyone my recent story, but in any case, I have to do these things as well. But that is the fastest way to get you out of that kind of trouble, so to speak, and into a more objective, relaxed, parasympathetic state, which is not the fight or flight, but the rest, digest state, where you can start to reclaim some of that control. And by the way, you can do this as many times as you need to. It's not just a one-time thing, but just over and over again until you're feeling like, okay, the stress is calming down, my muscles are relaxing, that kind of thing.
And I'll just quickly add that what has been an addition that's really helped me is I put my hand pretty firmly on my chest, just like this. And then when I'm breathing, it's like this deeper connection somehow that I have to my body that just gets me back into the present moment, like really, really quickly. So for whatever that's worth.
Fantastic. A second easy one is something called progressive muscle relaxation. And this is hard to do again when you're in the moment. So I think that breathing through it first to kind of reclaim awareness would be a great place to start. And then from there, from head to toe, as slowly or as quickly as you need to, you can think of any muscles that are tense in your body and imagine them physically relaxing. I've been doing this on the call. Nobody's even noticed this, but I've noticed my neck and shoulder muscles getting tighter as I'm getting excited about what I'm saying. And I just slowly relax them. And it keeps me in a nice, relaxed state. And this is a habit that you can build in over time that takes very little time at all, if anything. But when your muscles are in a relaxed state, you are in a relaxed, calm state. It's very, very difficult to feel stressed or anxious when your muscles are not tensed or tight. So those are two quick, easy tips or hacks. A third one, again, that sets your day up for this rhythm that we all have called your circadian rhythm is within the first hour that you wake up, be intentional about getting light in your eyes. Might sound like a really weird thing, but the best natural source to do this is sunlight. And if you don't have sunlight, or if you're like me and you tend to wake up before the sun comes up or in the dark, you can buy a little $20 device on Amazon. I think my brand is like a Happy Light. I have no relationship to them, but the point is you want to look for 10,000 lux, LUX, which is the dose. And this provides full spectrum white light to help wake your brain up and tell you it's time to be awake, time to be alert, time to be focused. And as crazy as this sounds, you might think, well, gosh, would I want to be more wound up? Well, no, you're not. It prepares you for the day and gives you the right level of focus and setting your rhythm, your cortisol rhythm. And equally importantly, that helps drop your cortisol levels where they need to be at nighttime to help you ensure quality sleep, which is part of, again, achieving quality sleep, which is part of the core 4. So these things all interrelate with one another, and your body is just a giant symphony. And again, learning how it operates and learning what we can do to reclaim control is just so important because, again, we live in this world full of these external stressors, and we've kind of just been thrown into this existence that is not optimized with our biology, and we've got to understand it to learn how to rewire and take control. Because otherwise, we're just reacting to everything. For those three quick tips.
Absolutely amazing. And just as a reminder to all of you who are watching, you can meet Ryan in person. You can be a part of the deeper dive conversation at the Entrepreneurship Summit that's in Boulder, Colorado, September 10th through the 12th. We just have a few seats left before we're sold out. You can read all about it at booksandbusiness.com/join. It really is an event like no other. If you just watch this video, you will start to understand why. But there's our guy, protect your most valuable asset, your brain. I'm going to be talking about AI. We have 4 industry leading speakers from Elevate. Chad Lefevre is about to join the stage in just a moment, followed by Dave Moreno and Darryll Stinson here before we conclude within the next hour and a half. And then you'll be able to see the location and the hotel. It's really beautiful, and everything we're going to talk about, it's all there for you. As well as Ryan is going to be bringing books. So he has copies of The Incredible Brain that he is bringing. He'll be able to sign them with you. You can get a photo with him if that's your jam. But being a part of this deeper conversation, deciding to take control, not avoid, not escape, not resist, but actually say, okay, I'm having a hard time coping with everything that's happening right now. There's got to be a way that I can get control. And I think we've just shown you that it actually is possible. There are some steps to take, and we're here to support you in taking those steps. And you don't have to feel embarrassed. You don't have to feel behind. Like, we all had to learn this at some point, and we are happy to guide you in this moment and ongoing. So Dr. Ryan, I want to thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure as always.
It is always a pleasure, Amber. I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks.
Yay. I know. I'm so excited. Well, we're going to bring Mr. Chad Lefevre onto the stage next. And Ryan, we'll let you carry on with your day. And yes, for those of you, we'll put in the chat comments a link to Ryan's website, of course, so you can get more information from him there. Thanks so much.
Take care, everyone. Hi, Chad.
Hey, nice to see you, Ryan.
You too. Bye, guys.
Bye. Chad, it's great to be with you again. I've been really looking forward to this conversation because it's actually Ryan who introduced me to Chad. Doesn't matter. And we had such an intellectually, emotionally stimulating conversation that left me wowed at the end of that conversation. And Chad has been at the top of my mind ever since then. And I'm like, this guy is like a huge quarry filled with wisdom and intellect. And you're such a visionary. I love your creative, strategic thinking brain. And I wanted to spend 30 minutes more with you to go deeper into your work and what you've been seeing since we last spoke live, and where you think entrepreneurs really need to be focusing their attention right now. Of course, you get to see Chad live at the summit if you want to go deeper with his content. And Chad is also going to be staying for the final strategic intensive day, which I am so deeply looking forward to. But that would give you the chance to have Chad consult on your brand and your plan moving forward as well. So I can't wait to have you experience him. Chad, I'm going to open in the same way I asked Ryan to, which is, I just want to know what is on your mind and heart to share with humanity in this moment, because a lot is going on, especially in the online world in this moment and in the external world at this moment. And with you seeing it all through your perspective, what's the thing that you want to present forward to us today?
The thing that's on my mind right now is the exponential change that we find ourselves in at this moment of time, and the responsibility that we all have for our own mental health, as well as our own general health. But mental health is where kind of I focus a lot. It's from what I observe, and this is evidentiary in the levels of stress that people are reporting that are creating all kinds of disease, mental health crisis, increases in violence in society. These are all symptoms of humans entering a feral state, a survival-based state. And we tend to do that when we are experiencing change, especially change at a level that we're seeing right now, which is so rapid. I mean, within the next 5 years or less, we will see a total reorganizing of our economy, which will ripple through how we organize ourselves as a society, which will ripple through how we relate to one another. You can look to not to terrify people, but I think we need to look at this soberly. And then from that place, we can actually step into a place of creator power about who we're going to be and what we're going to do about it.
Yes.
But you can look to, just the catastrophe, that's going on over in the Middle East right now in Gaza, in terms of how human beings react when they are faced with a level of change that is threatening their very survival. And though it won't look the same over here, we are, as I think you and I spoke about on our first call, we are seeing the transition of what Pew Research puts out is that 90% of Americans are employees, and we're seeing that transition from employee to self-employed entrepreneur space. So 10% are currently self-employed entrepreneurs, 90% are employees. And with the AI displacement that is coming, that is now everywhere. Everyone's, it's funny. When I was first talking about this a couple of years ago, virtually nobody was talking about this. Partly, I think, not because they weren't aware of it, but it was the thing no one wanted to talk about because they don't want to ensue panic. The problem with withholding information like this is you don't avoid the panic, you just prolong it, in terms of it. Yeah, you make it worse because you create an acute situation. And so
Yes.
the more that people can look at what's going on with a sober eye, I'm not talking about putting your head in the sand and pretending it's not happening. It is happening, and everyone needs to have an objective and a plan for how they're going to deal with it. And so what I'll be talking about in Boulder is the thing in our brain that prevents us from facing change, and what we can do. It's called the near win, and what we can do about it. So that's what's on my mind. I could keep going, but I'm going to let you interject a little bit here.
Oh gosh, it's hard because I'm just like, you saw me, I'm over here taking notes. Yeah, it is a lot going on. Mental health is definitely something that alarms me. I was in California for 9 days. And when you step outside of your day-to-day environment, you really get a different kind of measure for what's actually happening out there.
Yeah.
And it scared me to death, Chad. The people that I was interacting with, the quality of service in hotels and restaurants, and just the overall experience was honestly as shocking to me as some of what revealed itself in May. And that says a lot. And so I came back thinking, okay, my little bubble here is pretty well maintained. And it's important to go outside of that bubble and really get a broader understanding of what's happening right now. And I loved what you said about who are you going to choose to be and how are you going to prepare for what's really ahead. And one thing that I want to drill down with you is the word discernment.
Mm-hmm.
And I can give you a little context for this because what I'm observing, and I haven't really publicly talked about this, but I'm a deep observer. And I'm seeing that there's a lot of people that are just, of course, treading water at the top. They're just doing their best day to day to just keep content flowing and to keep their positioning as a leader, as an influencer or whatever. And yet when you open up the door to have a real conversation with that person or try to make a collaboration, it's like the halls are empty. And I fear that a lot of people who are newer in the space, like the corporate employees who go to self-employment, they are going to believe all of these people that say they're going to collaborate with me and they're going to do this with me. And then weeks go by, months go by, they're getting more and more into debt on credit cards because they don't have discernment. They don't understand, what is true, who to believe, or how to keep that internal control and power and alignment. So I know you are somebody that probably has a lot to say about that. Can you shine a little light on that for me?
Yeah, well, you mentioned two things. So you talked about discernment, and it is directly related to alignment, and aligned to what is the question, right? Or to who? And that is, so a lot of these sort of like tropes and buzzwords that are, really performative in nature, It's sort of like the fake it till you make it sort of thing. Like it's very easy to sort of use all these buzzwords and these terms I think one of the worst things that looking back on it now that happened to us as a culture was the emergence of memes through social media, because, and this goes direct to what I'm going to talk about in Boulder. I don't want to get in too much to what the near win is, but effectively, it's our reward system to avoid change. So our brain rewards us so that we do not have to lean into change. And if we don't have to lean into change, what is discernment good for? Because, I don't need to discern anything if I don't intend to change, because I can just keep doing whatever my conditioning has me programmed to do, and I don't have to think about it. Exactly. So, right. So discernment requires a deep connection to the self, what Ramana Maharshi referred to as the true self. How do you get there? Well, that's a bigger conversation, right? I mean, it's in
Pat
fact,
and I are just going to have like a 3-day retreat going back and forth.
Yeah. We probably will.
To talk about here.
Yeah, we probably will, because it actually goes to the heart of, like, my work is all around liberation. So how do we liberate ourselves from our conditioning so that we can move from victim to creator? So that, and a lot of people, unfortunately, in our culture, they think of, it's actually funny. It was Mark Cuban was on being interviewed recently. I saw him on a podcast, and he said, humans were not meant to consume. We were meant to be creators. And I'm like, gee, it's like you pulled it right out of like my work from the past 20 years. But that's a good thing that the message is getting out there, right?
No kidding.
And he's right about that. I mean, so when we're not standing in our creative power, we set ourselves up to be victims of circumstance, victims of conditioning. And so these things are all interrelated, because in order to be a creator, you have to know yourself. Yes. And so when you talk about discernment, the only way you can discern something is if you are clear about what you are in alignment with. It's sort of like the best example I could give for anyone who have maybe saw that movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, I love that movie. So there's this one quote that has always stuck with me. And so him and Tom Hanks, it's near the end, and they're in this like warehouse, and he's been captured. It's like where he's printing the money or something.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And he says something, Tom Hanks says something to the effect of, he's questioning, like, how are you so good at spotting the counterfeit bills? And he said, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, I think was like Frank McNamara or something like that, or Abigny or something. He says, yes, well, you guys are focusing on trying to find the counterfeit bills. I focus on the true bill, what a real dollar looks like. And then everything that's not that is counterfeit. So I don't have to focus on all the counterfeits, right? So that matters here when you're talking about discernment, because if we are always looking outside of ourselves to find out who we should be, versus going within and just getting to the true self, Ramana Maharshi's true self, like the true dollar bill, then if you know that, everything else that's not aligned with that is basically creates your discernment mechanism. So if you know yourself, then anything that's not aligning with you, it's not even a question. So you don't have to validate or evaluate it on any other merit or any other terms other than its alignment with your true self. Most people don't know their true self. And that's not a slight or an attempt to shame them or anything. We've just been in a culture that has not rewarded us to do that work. We live in a culture that has rewarded us to emulate everything that's going on around us and outside of us. And it plays, to the survival mechanisms in our brain to not be, estranged from the group and exiled, to be seen, to be liked, to be validated. And because of this, we as human beings can often fall. This can be advantageous if we're all connected to our deepest sense of who we are, then to be part of a group, then we become co-creators and collaborators. But when we're not connected to who we are, we end up sort of like with the blind leading the blind situation. And that's where I think we are right now. And it's what's got us here. So the only way out of this moment of change, to stand in power, is to liberate yourself from your conditioning and to do the work of discovering and creating who you are and who you're committed to being in the world. And so for entrepreneurs, that's critical because, if you're going to build a business, you're going to either look outside yourself and try to figure out, and this isn't something you ever can really figure out, but you're going to try to figure out, well, where can I make money? And especially if you've just lost your job as an employee, you're going to ask that question. How do I pay my mortgage? How do I pay my bills? And that would be the wrong place to start because...
No kidding. Let me validate that.
Yeah. Well, because as entrepreneurs, we know, those of us who've chosen this life and this path, if you can't be emotionally sober, creatively connected, spiritually embedded with what you're doing and what you're creating, you are not going to survive the ups and downs, the hills and valleys of this journey. It can't just be sort of a trick to make money. It's got to be something. I always tell entrepreneurs that your business should be the vehicle through which you deliver your calling to the world.
Yes.
Okay, so what's your calling? Well, that requires you to go within and to know yourself. All right. So it comes right back to what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And so that comes back to your question about discernment, because that also, to say, well, what should I create as an entrepreneur? What service, what product, what should I deliver to the world? To discern what you should do in that context, again, comes back to you. Well, who are you? What turns you on? What makes you come alive? And yes, there's things to learn about tactics and mechanisms and software and plugins and all those things. Those things have to be understood. But those are sort of the tactical side of being entrepreneur. And we're talking about the core essence of who you are as the entrepreneur who will then go do those things, right? So
and this very thing is how, I see us elevating entrepreneurship, Chad. Because I can't help but point to Hormozi's launch this weekend, because it's the biggest launch in history, right? A lot of people are talking about it today. He executed the strategy and the tactics with the software. He did the thing. So all of these entrepreneurs are like, oh, I just need those strategies and the tactics with the software and the thing, and I'm going to make $150 million too. And what Chad and I are saying is, no, that has its place. And that is very important, that you're picking the right strategies and have the right tactics and use the right softwares and execute at the right levels. But Hormozi also has something that a lot of people aren't talking about: the multi-year planning, the commitment, the discipline, the follow through, the grit, everything that it took, all the stuff you didn't get to see, the sweat, the tears, the failures, all of that, right? But at the end of it, what he is presenting is his alignment. He's saying, I know who I am. I know what I'm going after. This is why everybody is calling him so genuine and awesome. It's because of his alignment. Then from there, he made the strategy. He makes sure to take good care of himself here and in his physical body and emotionally, from what I can tell. And I'm a pretty good reader of people. And I'm not putting him on some pedestal necessarily, but just to point to a different side of the conversation. Otherwise, entrepreneurs get caught up in the smoke and mirrors of it all. And I think Chad and I are saying there's more to the equation than meets the eye, and it starts with alignment. And that is really where my work begins. And Chad, I know we have that in common, but I work to get entrepreneurs into alignment. Then we move into core messaging and positioning and branding, because your alignment can be expressed through visual graphics, the video editing style to the written word. And this becomes the verbal and nonverbal communication that interacts with your human audience. And it either connects and converts or it doesn't. And for entrepreneurs who are out of alignment, it doesn't convert because it's not connecting, or they have to go the sleazy path, the transactional path, and hope to dupe people through transaction and paid ads, because those are the two paths. Pick the one that feels right for you, and then God bless your journey. But we are trying to help elevate what entrepreneurship could be in a more natural sense, so that you weather whatever change is happening. It's not about AI versus the economy or crypto versus wars. Any change you can weather when you know your true alignment. So back over to you.
Yeah, no, well said. And I guess the only thing I could add to that is this trap that so many entrepreneurs fall in, of thinking that if they just had the right checklist and they just did those things, right?
Or just more exposure. Yeah.
Yeah. It again comes from, so there's two drivers of human behavior. One is the avoidance of discomfort, and the other is avoidance of effort. Okay. You can look at all human behavior in a default mode, and you can look at the challenges or the problems that humans are dealing with. And in every single circumstance, you can identify either in somewhere along the journey, the avoidance of effort and the avoidance of discomfort is at the source. So people are going to be seduced by the story of Hormozi, because they're going to see in their mind a path that makes this effortless and comfortable.
Yep.
If I just follow these steps, I don't have to put as much effort in as he did, and I don't have to go through the discomfort that I don't even know what it was that he did, because, they're not digging in and really looking at his journey. So, and that, we just have this culture that we've created, which is a sort of pop a pill culture, simple, right? Don't actually do the work, don't get to the source or the essence of why something is the way it is. And because of that, we're always looking for the quick fix. And so if there's anything we can do for entrepreneurs, it's to create a new sort of narrative that entrepreneurship begins with who you are as an entrepreneur, as a being, and your ability to weather the creative storms that are coming your way, and to do it from a place of play, and to do it from a place of curiosity, and to do it from a place of creativity and collaboration, as opposed to just give me the 10 steps so that I can become famous and rich, because that's just not going to work for you, right? And so I think that that's, something that I know you and I'll talk more about and can help people sort of navigate. But, it begins with liberating people from their conditioning.
Yes. I hear you saying alignment, mental health, and discernment into creator. And it's really the alignment that's going to help you put to rest the victim in you, finally, and step into your true purpose naturally. Because it's just so evident. It's so obvious. It was right there all along, but you were looking for it out there instead of really tapping into what is true for you. And it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to mean you're uprooting all of your baggage. I mean, it can mean that for those that want to go deeper and deeper and deeper into their alignment, like I do. I want to know all of it. Like, I am so curious, and it is so fascinating to me. But I think even if you get started on the journey of alignment, that's enough to build a sustainable and generative brand that helps a lot of people, ripples your impact. And then over time, you'll come across business challenges. Those business challenges actually point to something that's trying to get your attention, that's inside of your alignment, that's saying, hey, there's a part that you're still blind to. Pay attention to me. So you'll just naturally go through this process. But it can happen rather quickly in my experience. I don't know if there's anything in our next like 5 to 6 minutes, Chad, that you want to talk about. You keep teasing about this near when, and I know you're going to talk about it at the summit. So yeah, of course, my preference and my invitation is that people join the summit and like, let's go deeper into this conversation, because this is the most open book, transparent, giving it all away, connected, real belonging type of environment that I've ever seen in an event. Just blank statement there. But is there anything else that you want to share live for those that can't make it for whatever reason, or just anything else that's in your heart to share?
Well, the one thing I can say about the near win, but without going into the details about it, it's the kind of thing that you hear, and I've been talking about it now for 12 years. And every time I talk about it with people, it resonates on a very powerful level. So here's the gist of it. Our brain doesn't want us to change in any way. And so another way of looking at this is all human beings are addicts. And I say that intentionally to cause you to go, what are you talking about? I'm not an addict, because we have this this way of relating to that word that's very, culturally defined. But addiction is just reinforced behavior. And all of us build habit. Our brain is a habit-making, addiction-making machine. It wants to habituate everything because it's more efficient for resources. It's more efficient for energy. It's more efficient for how we relate to time. And so it wants to build habits. And so you want to change, or change is forced upon you, whether you want to or it's forced upon you. Change is in your future. And your brain is not going to have it. It's going to do everything it can to avoid you from changing. So in a very clever way, what our brain does is it neurochemically rewards us with dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, these sorts of things. When we decide to make a change, our brain will allow us to go so far, and then it will neurochemically reward us. So we get the pleasure payoff loop in the brain. And then we don't take any further action because we've already got the payoff. So our brain is basically saying, let me give you the reward in advance of you having to do anything different. And then you won't do anything different. And this is what keeps people trapped. And I came across this when I was working on a project actually in Las Vegas back in 2011. And I had the chance to interface with a lot of behavioral scientists who revealed to me that a lot of the gaming situations and the way that casinos are set up are to create these, they didn't call them near wins, but to create these neurochemical payoff loops so that you keep doing the illogical thing, in this case, putting money into machines that the odds are stacked against you, but you do it anyway, right? So like, why do we do irrational things that are against our own interest? Why do we avoid things that could make us healthier? Why do we avoid opportunities that could make us wealthier? Why are we afraid of success? Because success means change, right? It's like Marshall Goldsmith said, what got you here won't get you there. So we're all looking at Hormozi's success, $150 million launch, and we're like, oh, I want to do that. Well, first of all, if that's your motivation, you've already started on the wrong foot. Because the objective isn't to make $150 million. The objective is to align yourself with what makes you come alive, and whatever consequence that manifests for you, whether that's $150 million or $500,000, you won't care because you're living an aligned life. You're living in a life that is fully true for you, and you're building and creating from that place. So, but, we see these objectives, saying I want to have $150 million launch is no different than saying I want to win at poker in Las Vegas or blackjack. Is it possible? Sure, anything's possible. But if that's your outcome, here's the last thing I'll end on. You're either bending to the world or the world is bending to you. And in order to create the context where the world bends to you, you have to go inward and to create alignment from your deepest sense of who you are. And then the rest of the world starts to reorient itself around how you're showing up. And that is what we want to help people do. And we're going to talk about how to deal with the near win. We're going to go deeper into it in Boulder, and we're going to leave people with some solutions about how to begin taking practical action in their life to nudge themselves forward. This is a nudging journey.
Thank you so much, Chad.
Yeah.
I really value everything you said. If you have a hard stop, you're welcome to exit. I do see Coach Dave here in the room, but I can't help it. I have to share a screen and show you, because we talked about alignment so much that I wanted to share this with the folks that are watching. So on September 9th, I'm coming out with a book called Infinite Impact Stories of Alignment. And this was actually based off of my original book that released about a year or so ago. And I'm bringing this up because inside of Infinite Impact, I'm actually talking about how I get people into alignment and the fastest path there. And I'm not selling you anything, but I want you to know that if you go to ambervilhauer.com/infinite-impact, you can actually get my entire book for free. There's no opt-in wall. It just takes you straight to the PDF. And if you go to the table of contents, you'll be able to see where alignment starts. It's the foundational for framework, and it's part 2 called the work. And this is all right here for you. But I wanted to share that it starts back with the anthology book. If you're curious about this alignment thing and you don't really know what we're talking about, you could pre-order this book, because there are 12 contributing authors that all share their journey of getting into alignment. They're all different. And you might find yourself in one of these authors and think, that's like me. Wow, look at what he or she was able to do. Maybe this is possible for me too. It could at least be a first step. But I want you to follow Chad in his journey. Very, very smart, bright guy. Hope that this inspires you to watch him in person at the summit and come to Friday's Strategic Intensive. I think we only have 3 or 4 seats even left that are open. So this would be something you'd want to think on pretty quickly here. But Chad, I want to thank you for everything that you contributed. I know this is just the beginning of conversations that you and I are going to be having live. Just thank you for giving the way that you do so transparently.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing you in Boulder, Amber, and everyone else.
Yay. Thank you so much. Oh, got Dave Moreno here. Have you two have met outside of our session?
No, not yet. No.
Oh, Dave, you're going to love getting to know Chad. You guys have so much in common. You probably already got that sense just in the little bit.
Yeah.
We were together. So I'm excited to present our next speaker here. We have 1 hour remaining in my little live-a-thon that I just decided to throw together here, because as you know, Dave, there are so many people that are really having a hard time adapting to all of the change that's happening in the world. And it's really impacting their relationships with their spouse. It's impacting their health. It's impacting their wealth. And that's the intersection of the 3 things that I look to you as an absolute expert on, even though you're also a business strategist and a serial entrepreneur and all of these different things. But you know, for those of you who've been following this journey with me for the past several months, Dave and I had a pretty epic conversation a couple months ago. And even on that session live, we were like, we should do this every week. And then life happened, summer happened, but I'm so happy to be back with you, having a conversation, getting to see you live at the summit in just a few weeks. And I want to start, Dave, with a pretty big question. Are you open to me just throwing you into the deep end here?
The deep end is where I swim best. So let's go.
I have a sense that's true.
Yeah.
I want to know, of everything that you're seeing, what you're feeling, all the conversations that you're having with all of your clients and your network. I mean, I want to know what is on your mind and your heart to share the most with humanity right now, like that plea, what you really believe, what you really want to say. Where does our conversation begin?
Well, it begins where I hope it ends too, which is in chaos. Chaos is the thing that is on my mind more than anything these days. And it's because there's such a misunderstanding about what chaos is. And let me introduce it. So for the last 10 years, I have had one question on my mind. And this question has driven all of my work, all of my success, all of my failures. Everything I've experienced has come from this one question. And that question was, why do some people succeed while others don't? It's a simple question, right? And I just wanted to know. I had had so much success in building companies myself. And I was so curious, and I watched friends and colleagues and other people, and I sold off companies and watched them fail after I sold them. Why did some people succeed and other people didn't? I became obsessed with human performance. I wanted to know what is that? And after 10 years of now coaching and basically doing a research project. That's the way I looked at my coaching for the last 10 years. Has been this really big research project. I got the answer and I figured it out. And it's really simple. What stops people from their next level, because that's all I'm about, your next level. Everyone wants their next level, and that's where I take you to. What stops people from their next level is chaos. What gets people to their next level is clarity. And so I realized after this 10 years, what I really do is take people from chaos to clarity. And the problem is that chaos is misunderstood or not even recognized. So here's 3 things I thought would be really cool to kind of go through today and introduce what I really want to dive into in Boulder, which will be really fun doing live in the room.
Yay.
The first one is to understand, and this is, for me, this is like almost the presentation of 10 years of research, which is really, really cool.
Whoa.
And I've even told my clients, like my clients are like, can we, know what you're working on? And I'm like, you can't, because a lot of you are involved in this, and I want you to see it as the culmination of 10 years of research as a coach and figuring this out and bringing this forward. So what's happening in Colorado is way more than just
wow, thank you.
Talk. For me, it's like a coming out of what this next level of mine really looks like and why it's important. So 3 things I think would be cool to introduce today is, what is chaos, so people can understand it and why I'm obsessed with it, why it's been such a driver for me. What strategy really is, because I am a chief strategy officer. I am a high-level coach for so many people. And the number one thing I find is people don't even know what strategy is. They think they want it, but they don't even know what it is. So I really want to help.
To hear your definition. Yeah.
Well, people misunderstand it so much. And so I really want to hit that. And then I want to give people a little gentle push into how to shift from chaos to clarity today, using one of my systems so that they can walk away with that. But just know, if you are coming to Colorado, and you should be coming to Colorado, we're going to dive into this like a Navy SEAL tactical level. I'm a tactician by trade. That's what I do. I love tactics. And so I don't want to come on stage in Colorado and present research to people. What I want to do is tactically walk people through an entire process to give them like a Navy SEAL level strategy that they can actually walk away with and start looking at everything in their life completely differently. So we're going to do a little introduction today, if that's okay, but Colorado will be where we dive in.
And just to be clear, this is what he is talking about if you're just joining us. So you can go to booksandbusiness.com/join and learn all about the Elevate Entrepreneurship Summit happening September 10th through the 12th. About 4, maybe 3 seats left. I think I just saw something come through, and you'll be able to look all about the different speakers that we have, exactly what we're going to be talking about, and more. So back over to you, Dave. I'm really, really excited for your top 3 here. Let's launch in.
So let's talk about chaos for a minute. So there are 2 types of chaos that we as human beings experience. The first one is loud chaos. Loud chaos is obvious. It's visible, like the death of a loved one, $0 in your bank account, waking up tomorrow and your biggest client leaving with 50% of your forecasted revenue. That's loud chaos. A world war. That's loud chaos.
AI.
It's visible. It's visible. Everyone knows it's there. Everyone can see it, and it's understandable, right? If you've ever lost a loved one, you know that people are awkward around you, and they know what happened, and they know that you're going through something, but it's completely visible. Loud chaos is not the one I'm worried about, because people can get through loud chaos. It's the quiet chaos that stresses me the most when I work with my clients. The quiet chaos is all these micro triggers. It is all these heavy weights that happen, seemingly innocent moments around us. Small decisions, subtle stressors that end up silently weighing us down over and over. I have identified, and I called this a year ago, the world is in a global quiet chaos right now. Yes. Nobody can understand it. No one can pinpoint it. There isn't something that everyone says, it's that. It's a million little things that have completely wiped away certainty, that have elevated risk, and that make us all feel frustrated, stuck, paralyzed.
Lonely. Yeah.
Lonely. And entrepreneurship is the loneliest sport in the world. Okay. And so we know that in this time, it's even worse. This is what quiet chaos is. It's the real killer. Anyone who wonders if they've ever experienced quiet chaos, here's what I can tell you. If you've ever felt stuck, frustrated, or overwhelmed, and you can't tell me why within 3 seconds, you're in a quiet chaos. Look, if I'm stuck, overwhelmed, and frustrated, and it's because My kids are yelling in the background at the moment. I can tell you exactly why I'm stuck frustrated. But if I'm stuck frustrated about my business because my kids are yelling in the background, that's not the cause of it. There's more going on. There's a quiet chaos happening. There's just been too much little subtle things happening over time that have now elevated and reduced my creativity, elevated my stress, and I'm living in quiet chaos. And so if
And
you've
for
ever wondered
me,
why, yeah,
if I could just add, it's usually for me the stuff that is happening internally
yeah,
that I can't pinpoint that scares me. It's
yeah,
like there's this existential crisis thread, let's just pretend.
yeah.
Because that's happened, sure. I mean, when AI hit the way that it did, it's like, what does this mean for my business? What does this mean for my future? Should I go become a plumber? I mean, we've all probably had those thoughts. That's an existential crisis. So it's not necessarily external, but I think the quiet chaos for me is more observing that thread and being afraid of it, or like, oh my gosh, I don't have control over this piece. Where is this coming from? What do I do to extract it or heal it or whatever it is? So for me, it's almost an internal game. And I don't know if that adds anything to those of you that are viewing.
It certainly is the internal. So quiet chaos happens when external things happen and you get an internal reaction that you can't verbalize, that you can't exercise in any way. And the reason I call it quiet chaos is because we typically get quiet when we're in it. We get very quiet. We don't know what to do. I remember when AI came out in the same fashion you did, and I thought, I think my business is done. Like, I think I got a year left. I better make the most of this. And I was quiet about AI for so long. And I hope that if I didn't mention it, my clients wouldn't know about it. And so I'm like, everyone just be quiet and this will go away. And then I leaned into it and realized, oh, I have to elevate myself. So I am beyond AI, and AI can take care of such low level stuff for people that I can do the high level stuff for them. And that's what took me from being a business coach. I was a business coach for years to a chief strategy officer. And now I've elevated, I'm not a business coach anymore, although that's what everyone knows me as. I'm a CSO for some really high level individuals in this world who want more. And I couldn't do that unless AI could take care of some of the minuscule stuff I used to do as a business coach. Yep. And so I've leaned into that. And so I got out of that quiet chaos. I stopped being quiet about AI. But the key about quiet chaos to know is whenever we're in any chaos, loud or quiet, we go back to our primal programming, which means we go back to the thing that we've always done. Whatever you've always done or that you've done for the longest, your longest pattern, you will realign to that pattern and you will start acting and behaving in that pattern, which means anytime you're in chaos, you can't grow. Because if you've always done what you've always done, you can never have what you don't have today. And so in quiet chaos, what happens is we revert back. There are people who successfully lost weight. I started off as a weight loss coach years and years ago when I owned a gym. And I had lost, 150 pounds myself. And I had that story. And so that's why people wanted to work with me. And I watched people lose weight. And I watched people get into the first sign of crisis and then go gain weight back. And it's like, wait a minute, you learned exactly what you need to do. And they're like, 100%. I know, but for 20 years, I ate cake when I was stressed. And just because for the last 6 months I haven't, as soon as I entered chaos, I went back to my longest running program, which was to eat cake because I'm stressed. And they gained all the weight back. So many people have done it. They lost 50 pounds and they gained 70 back, right? And it's just weight loss. I used to tell people this as a coach all the time. Weight loss is easy. Keeping weight loss off is the hardest thing you'll ever do.
Sure. Yep.
And I'm
so glad that you illustrated that, because that actually loops us back to a story that we had with Dr. Ryan at the very beginning of an omission that I made publicly, and how I didn't go back to the longest running program and instead shifted and had a more fantastic evening as a result. So I'm not going to explain it again, but I'm tracking you 100% in this conversation.
Good. So here's how we move into strategy now. Now that we understand that quiet chaos is happening, and people in quiet chaos, here's what a lot of people do. And this is why, as a chief strategy officer, a lot of people come to me because they go, I need a new strategy. My strategy is the problem. I need a new strategy. People blame strategy when things aren't working. And here's what I'm here to do. I'm here to save strategy. It's not strategy's fault. You don't need a new strategy. Here's a very unpopular opinion that I'm trying to make popular. Plans change. Systems change. Strategy doesn't change. You should never change your strategy. You should never adjust a strategy, because we don't start with strategy. And this is what people really misunderstand about strategy. So let me define strategy for you from my perspective. And this is my opinion. I call it a hallucination because in some people's world, this can be completely false. And I don't want to argue with them. So it could be a hallucination on my part. This is what I believe. Strategy is not tactics. Strategy is not a plan. Strategy is not a system. Strategy is your greatest desire. It is your overarching goal. It is the thing that you want no matter what is your strategy. So we should never change or compromise strategy because something isn't working. So that's like people saying, I want to lose, using weight loss as an example, I want to lose 100 pounds. And after their first month, they're only down 6 pounds. Well, you know what? I'll lose 80. Like, no. Don't change the strategy. The strategy is your vision. You want to lose 100. We need to change the system or the tactics or the plan or the timeline. We don't change the strategy. I have clients who say, my strategy is I want to get to $100 million in my company in revenue. Great. If we hit the first snag and one of their patents don't go through or a system doesn't work for them, I don't say we're not changing the $100 million goal because you want to be comfortable in the moment. Strategy and the goal will stay the same. We're going to change your systems and your plans.
Yes.
That's the difference. That's what people need to understand strategy is.
So I'm totally there with you. What I say is we have to start with the end in mind. What do you ultimately desire?
Yeah.
And then the strategy is the fastest way to get there without sacrificing quality. That's how I talk about strategy.
Yeah.
So you're right. There are different obstacles that can come in. It's just I have to adapt the path to get to go there. I see like waste time, so see it, but totally tracking. I was really interested to see about that.
Yeah. Well, strategy to me has to be really simple. Okay. And so when we talk about strategy, I want to get really clear with people that exactly what you're saying, right? Strategy is not, strategy can't always be just your plans and your tactics. Like when I work with a client, we do this thing called DEA. And it's we first design the strategy, or we first design a strategy, we execute, and then we adjust our plans. We do not go through and try to change the strategy. It's so important to understand the difference. So I think strategy, we don't start with strategy. We start with foundation. And there are 3 simple things, 3 questions that I'll give people. These 3 questions will change everything for you if you do them right. And this is the one gift I want to give to anyone watching this. I don't want to just save this for Colorado. I want to give the gift of these 3 questions to anybody who's watching. So question number 1 is, and here's what I recommend to people. Grab a piece of paper. Okay, this is the exercise I always give people. And this is the exercise, we'll do this in the room when we get there too in Colorado because it's always fun to do no matter what. Grab a piece of paper, draw 3 lines. So divide it into 3 equal sections. Okay. And we're going to write 3 questions down, 1 question in each section. And your job is to fill that section with the answer. Fill it as much as you can. Write until you can't write anymore. And here's the 3 simple questions where we start before you develop any strategy. And especially when you're in quiet chaos, use this exercise. Number 1, what do I want most? And it's very important to use those keywords. What do I want most? Be honest and be specific. And so I want you to write down if you love the Denver Broncos and you want season tickets to the Denver Broncos, that better be written down in that section. Because if you don't write it, we're not going to get it. As a strategist, as a tactician, I need to know everything you want. Some people will write in there, I want a great marriage. Okay, I can't help you with that because I don't know what a great marriage is. Tell me what you want. And some people will say, I want my partner to desire me. I want them to crave me. I want them to be so open to support me no matter what. And I also want to give to them so much. And they start listing out all this definition of what they want in a marriage. And then I go, I can help you get that marriage. I can get that marriage like this.
Specificity. Yeah.
Specificity is so important. There is no strategy without specifics. Strategy is not this high level thing. We have to get specific. So this foundation.
And if you don't get specific, don't blame the strategy, okay?
Never.
And don't blame the CSO.
I was going to say, don't blame the strategist. So many people are like, oh, I didn't grow my revenue this year. The goal to grow revenue? Because we never talked about that. They're like, well, yeah. I'm like, we have to be specific. How much did you want? Like, get to me the actual numbers and I'll give them to you, right? So we get very specific these days. Second question that we have to answer. What do I fear most?
Ooh.
Because if you ever want to achieve anything in life, you better be willing to shine a light on your fears. It's the only way that we prepare to overcome fear is to write them down. You have to. I always say fear like gremlins. If you just shine light on them, they melt. They go away. They're done. You never have to worry about them. We have to shine a light on our fear. So what do you fear most? And I tell my clients all the time, fill that entire section, that 1/3 of a page. It's not hard to do. Fill it with everything you're afraid of. I don't care if it has anything to do with what you want or not. Fill it with what you're afraid of. And number 3, the third and most important question of this. What am I willing
Hmm. Megan, is this my internet or is this Dave's? Okay, it's Dave. Bear with us, everyone. I couldn't tell. I'm in a cabin at 10,000 feet in the Rocky Mountains. I'm like, is it me? I'm switching between my hotspots. So that's okay. That happens. But what I will add while he's rebooting is that, a question like, what do I want most or what I fear the most? Some people listening are going to be like, yeah, what else? But have you actually identified that? Have you actually spent the time to write that down? Because I bet 99% of people haven't. Even those who are into personal development and are very self-aware, checking in and asking yourself that question from time to time is really critical, because what you want changes. You are a human that is evolving and changing. The world around you is changing, and every moment all day long. So of course, what you desire might also be changing, and what you fear might be changing. So for example, let's take the 90% of employees out there. You may not have feared becoming irrelevant in the workforce up until perhaps this summer with all of the news headlines talking about corporate layoffs. That might be a new fear for you. And so, writing down these answers to these questions is what helps a strategist like myself or Dave to then come in and help you design the path to get you what you want the most. And retaining a strategist as one of the ongoing members of your team, I think, is one of the smartest things that any entrepreneur can do. And don't say, I can't afford a strategist. The strategist can help you come up with a monetization model to pay for themselves, or at least a good strategist can. I was just talking with a new client this morning about that I actually harbor guilt personally if my clients can't pay back what they invest in me and then still profit. It's a signal that I'm not doing something right. And that I'm not guiding them properly. But it's also, it takes 2 to tango. You've heard of that. And so I can only help somebody get where they want to go to the degree to which they can be specific about what they really want and why. Okay, so that's where I go even deeper, is if you say, I want 10 clients, tell me why. Because I need the cash flow. Tell me why. Well, because I need to pay my bills. Which bills specifically are you really concerned about? Well, it's actually that I don't have enough money saved for my retirement, and I have these genetics that make it this, so that I have an increased likelihood of cancer. And if I don't take care of my family now, and all of a sudden, the deeper you go, the clearer the picture becomes for the strategist. And that's when we're able to help map that plan to get you where you want to go. So Dave, welcome back to the conversation. We left off on question number 3. If you could please share that again.
Yeah.
Can you hear it? Question number 3.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yep. You're doing all right. We're hanging in there.
What am I willing to do? And it's not what you can do, because we can do so many different things. It's what are you willing to do? The will to do something is important.
Yes.
Because most people will answer that question with what they can do. Well, I can, go back to weight loss, for example. I love examples that are outside of business so people can see them. And we can stop eating cake. We can eat only protein. We can follow this diet. Sure, you can. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to sit there super stressed out in the evening because you desire something and you're not going to go for it? Are you willing to do this? Those three questions give me the biggest insight into an individual and how I can help them truly succeed. If you answer those three questions honestly and specifically, you'll know. If you don't know what you want, you can't have a strategy. And if you don't face your fear, you can't overcome it. And if you're not honest about what you're willing to do, you'll end up developing a strategy. Like when people write what they can do and not what they're willing to do, they develop a strategy that they can't execute. And that's when they blame strategy. It's not the strategy's fault. It's that you decided you can do something, but you're not willing to do it. And so that's such an important aspect. Now, there are two big pieces that I'm going to dive into in Colorado, and I just want to touch on them here to kind of whet the appetite for them so people know. But to move people from chaos to clarity, which is what I do, is I have two systems. The first one is the past diagnostic. And the past diagnostic is really the only three problems anybody ever has. Okay. When I come against a client and they want success, they want their next level, I know that there are three problems they have. And this is a diagnostic tool I use to figure out what their problem is. The problem is either a perspective problem, P for perspective. You have a perspective problem. Perspective problems happen because we look at things through our own lens. And emotional storytelling is really good when you're trying to sell tickets to a movie. It's not good when you're trying to devise a plan for your future. Because the more emotion you put into your own story that you're telling yourself, the problem is. If you're out of alignment, case in point, it's probably a perspective problem, if not one of the other two that we're going to go through. The second one on the past system is the accountability problem. Yeah. No one has ever achieved anything in this world worth noting without some form of accountability. No one ever stood on stage, won the Super Bowl, got a gold medal, and said, I did it all myself. I never had anyone help me. Yep. Like, listen, you got to stop playing this independent game that everyone thinks entrepreneurship is. It's not. Entrepreneurship is not a one-man sport. It's a team sport. So I know that you either have a perspective problem, you have an accountability problem, which means you're just not accountable to someone, or you have a strategy problem. You don't have a clear what and why you're doing something. And so I use that diagnostic immediately. When someone says, I'm not where I want to be, I say, okay, first answer these three questions for me. And those are the three questions we went through already. And then I say, okay, tell me a little bit about your story. What do you think about the problem? And that's where I understand their perspective, their accountability, their strategy. And then the second one that I'm going to dive into is what I call the elements of success. Now, these are important because there are three elements that I work with my clients on, and you already alluded to them at the beginning, which I absolutely love. So it's a great place to end on this. The elements of success are the three anchors that either elevate or completely sabotage everything that you want. As a business coach, as the badass business coach, as a chief strategy officer for people, these are the three elements that I'm always watching in the background. And the funny thing is, when you said at the beginning, you know this so well because we've had this conversation a few times. While I do strategy and help people grow their business, what I really do is monitor these three elements on a stealth-like basis in the background of everything we do. And they are these. They are your health, your wealth, and your relationships. Those three things will either completely support and streamline your success like wild, or they will sabotage it completely.
100%.
And you have to get those three in alignment for sure.
What I really value about you, and there is legitimately so much that I value about you, but Dave, you can tell, is deeply thoughtful, deeply intentional, deeply strategic, and deeply caring. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so organized in this structure and in these frameworks. And otherwise, without that structure and frameworks, his results would be all over the place. Yeah. And he would not be able to hold you to that level of accountability that you need to actually excel in the areas of your health, wealth, and relationships so that you can have the business outcomes that you secretly, ultimately desire. Regardless of the chaos that's happening inside and around you. Yes. Such high value, even though we had some tech challenges, like you brought it. And how you even handled the tech challenges speaks into your level of experience and your authenticity, because you can just show up and have this conversation anytime, anywhere, no matter what's going on, is a sign of a true pro. And I am really honored that you are flying international to come onto this stage to help entrepreneurs to elevate so that they can weather the chaos that they are experiencing right now, Dave. Any last words before I bring Darryll Stinson onto the stage?
Chaos is the enemy, clarity is the solution, and you're not going to get there on your own. Just know that. I'm not saying it has to be me, but my one message to the world is get with somebody. Make sure you're in a community, make sure you're in an environment, make sure you're with people that will help elevate you. And that's exactly what attracted me to your world. And this event that you're having is because you're literally working on elevating entrepreneurs. I'm like, that is a room that is full of elevation. If nothing else, I know I will get more from that room than I'll give. And trust me, I'm going to give a lot to that room, but I'm going to get way more from that room because that's proximity. And I know that working with people who are in that mode is going to be so amazing.
And honestly, if you ask any past attendee of any of my events, they will say the number one takeaway is that they are shocked at the caliber of people that I attract in, and they have never experienced a room with this kind of individual before. So it's not for everybody. It's not for the masses. It's a very small, intimate, highly curated room of people that are serious and ready to lead and to do the work and to openly share and to create belonging and to just be serious about how they're showing up. So that definitely sums you up in a nutshell, Dave.
Well, thank you. I look forward to seeing you in just a few weeks.
Yes, sir. Me too. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see ya. D-Stents in the house. I can't help it. You're like my brother, man. I'm so happy to spend time with you.
You're hilarious. I'm stoked, man. How are you?
We're an hour and a half into our live-a-thon, and I feel so proud of the speakers and the way that they come on. They share so openly. They're not holding anything back. There's no strategic step approach to how they're delivering their content because they're trying to push some agenda at the end. I mean, they're just showing up so open, so honest with their observations, what they are doing, the work they're doing, their predictions, inviting everybody along with them. I mean, it's just first class, man. This is the content that I think needs to go viral, Darryll. That's what I think. And I'm so grateful to finish strong with you because you bring the energy, you bring the depth, you know how to ripple impact unlike anybody else that I know. So thanks for meeting me here in the Rocky Mountains.
So what's been your biggest takeaway so far?
Gosh. Honestly, I think my favorite part selfishly was digging into what happens in a moment of chaos and how you can really pinpoint it, not get subjugated to it and lost in the current of it, but to step back almost objectively and to see exactly what's going on. I walked people through a sequence based on a personal story that I just had literally yesterday. And then Dr. Ryan was there and was able, from his neurology lens, to be able to map it. And it was just a really cool step-by-step approach that people can take away as a tangible strategy right now if they start getting swept up in some feelings that they don't want to have ruined their day or their week or whatever. So that was really special. And then I would say all of them brought some really interesting points that forecast what we are all stepping into and being able to name it and label it. So that we almost normalize it and we don't have to, we can diffuse some of the emotion around it and then, really get into the nuts and bolts of what to do so that we can have the impact that we want to have. We can show up powerfully for our audience. We can speak clearly about our message. We can connect better with other people. I mean, it's been a pretty epic 90 minutes. I'm just going to say.
It sound like it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to join and add value. And for all of you tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from and feel free to engage. I know I'm streaming to 2 of my platforms, so I can see my feed here. And let's go all the way in, Amber.
Well, Darryll and I do that. We go very deep. It's really the only place that we're interested in going, at least for me. I'm not surface level. When Darryll and I come together, we find ourselves in these rabbit holes, these like nuances that are like, you have to be a deep, hyper aware observer to notice these little nuances that are really happening beneath these massive currents of change and headlines and chaos and movement that are all necessary. Let's just be honest. We have all been asking for change. We knew something was off, especially during the pandemic. We asked for this. Of course, you got to be careful what you wish for, but change is upon us. And you get to decide, as the entrepreneur who is probably heart-centered, you're observing, you're feeling, that something else could emerge, but you're holding back, you're resistant, you're unsure if this is something you really want to put the effort and energy into because you're probably exhausted and overwhelmed, and you're uncertain, you have your own stuff that you're battling with, and then life happens and keeps hitting you, right? Testing you, and you're exhausted from that. But as the emerging leader, you get to choose how you interact with this moment. So Darryll, with that framing, what I want to ask you is simply, what is on your mind and heart to share? Humanity, with everything that you're seeing, everything that you're feeling, real time dropping in, what do you really want to share with us today? Where does our conversation begin?
Let's go. Like, I don't have like a specific download of a word, which is hilarious because I probably usually do. But I just think for me, it's about consistency, right? Like, motivation gets you started, consistency keeps you going. And so for me, it's about, everyone knows what to do. We all do it when we have our backs against the wall. Like, the moments our backs are against the wall, we have a way of hyper focusing. I heard a couple of guests talk about that today. We have a way that things that were unclear before all of a sudden become more clear. And so, like, there's nothing really to do but be consistent with that you do when you are at your best. And I think there's a level of honesty that people have with if they're really being honest. There's a level of honesty that they can have about if they're giving their best or not. Like, I said this and it was super controversial, but I mean it. I was like, I'm a mental health advocate. I'm a suicide survivor. I believe in work-life balance or flow, whatever you want to call it. But I think some people need to burn out so they can finally figure out what they have in them when they go all in, because that's what's being required. And we talk about, like, I don't know what's on my mind lately. It's that I'm noticing within my own personal walk and relationship with God, how much he's just like, dude, I'm not playing anymore. There was some things that were permissible last season that aren't permissible this season. There's some things that you got away with 2 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, 12 months ago that you just ain't going to be able to get away with right now. And so the margin for error is smaller. And not to make everybody like freak out with anxious, because to me, it's like, yeah, that's what we asked for. That's what you said. We asked for this. And here it is. Fourth quarter, 10 minutes on the clock, neck and neck, scoring back and forth. Let's go. Consistency.
This is
consistency.
Yeah. I remember in 2022, it was May. It was 2-3 weeks before my birthday. And I was crying my eyes out, D, crying in the most like, dark night of the soul, when you just are questioning everything in that moment. And I remember in that moment, this message dropped in, and it said, this is your training. This is your training. And I'm like, training for what? It gets harder than this.
Always.
This was just my training. What?
Training.
And it's so funny. I laugh about it now because I'm like, oh yeah, that absolutely was training to get me here. And it was so difficult. It was like being, just in the fire of it all. And I'm grateful for that, which I
Totally.
certainly could not have said back then. I was like, get this season beyond me. I got to get the hell out of here. But really, when you
Totally.
look back on whatever that moment was for you, because it happened at different times for all of us, but look at how much better you are for that moment, how much deeper you
Totally.
are, how much more insightful you are, how much more compassionate you are of other people because of that moment. And
Totally.
that was your training. It is, it is the playoffs now. And it's like everything that you've been training for your whole life, getting bullied or rejected or, abandoned or whatever happened to you. And I'm sorry
Mhm.
that happened to you, but it gave you a resiliency. It gave you a way to learn how to adapt so that in this moment, as chaos is going on around you, and there are tons of people that don't have the skill set that you have, but you have it. And I hope in this moment you choose to use your voice, to self-express, to get on a stage, whether it's an actual in-person stage or a podcast stage or a live stream stage or a video that you put out on social media, but stay consistent with using that voice. Now is the time that you are needed to be activated so that you can lead moving forward.
Totally.
So
Stay consistent with that voice. And like stay consistent with that energy that you bring. Like I use this analogy all the time when I train corporations to help them to get what I mean. And I say the week that we have before we go on vacation, we are the most productive. We are in a mode.
Yes.
And I say that because like you mentioned some specific things, and I'm so grateful that you did that because I struggle sometimes to go all the way down to earth with people. Like, but like the mode of for me, okay, cool. Very helpful. Some of the analytical people are like, thanks, Amber. And then I'm like, yo, but like, what happens when the four things that you just said change, shift, move? There's a fire to put out. You got to keep that same energy. Somebody should write that in the chat. Keep that same energy. You got to keep that same energy because it's the mentality of resourcefulness. That's what matters most. It's when I hit an obstacle, can I figure out 8 different ways to get around the obstacle? Or do I allow that to stop me? Hey, when it gets tough, do I actually dig deep enough to get the awareness that I need to resolve the patterns that I keep recreating in my life? Like you mentioned this self-reflection period happening in COVID. And yes, resilience was developed. But there's also something that I noticed that people who had deeper levels of reflection, people who were more keenly aware of where they were being provoked to evolve as a business or a human, and they cooperated with that more readily, more easily, with more surrender. Man, I'm talking about they're like a lap and a half ahead of people who were like waiting for change, hoping it would be over, resisting the pain. And I think that's important. So I would even ask, like, if people were to do a survey right now and to go, man, what are the things in my life that are causing me intense pressure or tension? Like, where do I feel the strain? Financially, emotionally, fill in the blank. Now, rather than like, how do I just get through this? What if we got a magnifying glass? And instead of try to white knuckle way through it, what if we journaled our way through it? And what if we figured out, man, what is it that's causing this strain? Because here's the thing. Some of it is economic. Some of it is universal and global and the industry you're in. Ooh, can I say this, Amber? Don't shoot me. Most of it, though, is just our own mirror.
It's so true. It's so true. So something that I experienced this weekend.
Yeah.
Which is so new. I don't even know what's going to come out of my mouth next. I certainly have not shared this, but I read this book about emotionally immature parents and what happens when you are a product of that. And when I was reading this book, I had this huge epiphany that was so epic, Darryll. Like, and you know me. This just happened. And what I realized is I had always carried this belief that I am too much for people. My emotions are too much. And so I have learned these coping strategies to try to withhold some of my emotion or downplay it or make fun of it.
Yeah.
Because I am just too much. But in this book, I recognized, what if I'm actually not too much for the world, which was the belief that that's what I thought I heard as a kid. And what if I was just too much for my mom, where her feelings were too much for her. So she was avoidant big time. And I'm not saying, anything ill. It's just sort of what happened. She had a very challenging childhood that created this. But as a little tiny kid, I just heard I'm too much, not for her. I interpret that as I'm too much for everybody. So all of a sudden, I just realized this weekend, like, oh shit, what if I'm not too much for the rest of the world? And what if my emotions are not too much for me to handle? And what could I do to play with that so that I could shift my messaging or shift how I show up in the world? I think that it's been holding me back in some serious big ways. So when you're talking about all of this and it's becoming the mirror, I think these emotions, the signals, finance. Okay, if you're all twisted up about finances, journal it out. What is finances trying to communicate to you? And see if you could give it a voice, what would it say to you? And all of a sudden, like a detective, you can trace it back to this belief that you probably misinterpreted to begin with, that has been completely running the show, by the way.
Totally.
And if you label it, all of a sudden you detach from it and find joy in it. Like, I am like a little kid at Christmas with this discovery. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the power I just got over my own life, my decisions I can make, the way I show up in the world, the energy that I have, because I didn't make it about finances or whatever, and let that story play out. Love
so
that.
Spot on. And like, if that sounds, there's some people that get that and they're like, yeah, cool, there's my nuance. And there's some people that are like, wait, what is
she talking
and
about?
it's like, cool. If you're like, hey, what, huh? Man, the best place to start is just like 5 minutes a day, journal what's working, what's not working. If you do that consistently, what you're going to see is, let's do it for 30 days. And what you're going to see is you're going to start to notice reoccurring themes and patterns. There's going to be the same problem showing up, even though people switch. There's going to be the same situation showing up, even though circumstances change. And that's where you got to go deeper. That's where you got to polish the mirror. That's where you got to say, okay, I got to stop blaming economy and industry and AI and adaptability and employees and hiring and operations and confusion and overpriced industries or this or that or the other. And I've got to just start being like, okay, what can I do to control my controllables? Because there's so much that I can't control.
Well, and control was always an illusion to begin with. I think we're all seeing that now. But you can control the food that you put in your body that gives you sustenance. You can control the amount of water you drink. You can control the sleep that you get. You can control if you go out into nature or not. Like this is a game of self-control. It's a game of self-control, because when you are well on the inside, and as we've been talking about for almost 2 hours now, it's alignment, it's neurology, it is your physical body, it's your emotional health, right? It's all spiritual health. It's all of these things combined. When you are well, when you are aligned, when you are whole, that is going to give you the best shot at success of whatever you want out of all of this. We are at the most epic point in time, just like insider trading. Like, you just got the secret in to buy the stock right here before it balloons out, and you could make hundreds of millions of dollars in this moment if you wanted to. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people saying, oh no, that can't be done. I mean, Alex Hormozy just proved it this weekend, by the way.
Right.
Okay, it was just proven. But what do you want out of this season? And we're giving you all of the deeper tools that most people are not talking about online right now. They are exhausting you with the headlines about AI and prompts and you're going to fail and all of the shit that's out there. But at Elevate Entrepreneurship Summit, with this caliber of speakers who's been doing this for decades, who know the depths of what it's really going to take to overcome this time and to create what you want and to gain and flourish and have joy, That's the conversation that we're here to have at Elevate. So shifting
Totally.
into your speech and what you really want to make this
Let's
event
go.
about for your people, like, what do you really want to express? What's the change that you want to make at this event?
I want people to experience in real time how much service is available to them. And what I mean by that is, like, it's not that hard, Amber. It really is not that hard. The day I realized, because I used to struggle heavily with especially high ticket sales, because I come from the hood. So, like, you know, only time we spend tens of thousands of dollars if you buying stuff to flip it. And so I remember I started getting quoted that, man. And I was like, oh my God. And then they started telling me I should charge these types of prices. And I mean, even you know, years when I first met you, I never forget when you told me I should do a 50K mastermind. And I thought you were delusional.
He did. It's true.
Delusional.
I was like, Darryll, let's go.
Oh my God. I was like, she's so out of touch with reality. She has no idea that nobody's like, I don't even know nobody. Oh, listen to what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I felt it in my belly. I'm sorry. Because sometimes we tell ourselves a false story and believe it's true. Oh my God. I told myself I didn't even know anybody that had $50,000 to spend. And I'm looking at, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. It was not true. The day I realized that money is just circling around me. Right now, everybody should just take your hand and just go like this. Like, money is just circling around me. And I just got to choose if I want to be of service or not. Here's the thing. I'll never forget. Somebody got off a sales call with me. They said it was because of the money. 2 days later, they celebrated joining somebody else's program on social media. And that boy was like 50K. And I was like, I thought you didn't have money. And I was like, oh my God, it's just people people are lying. They're not spending it with you because they're afraid. They're afraid.
It is.
And so
true.
all I want is my biggest service, Amber, I'm sorry. I know it's a lot.
Bring it, D.
But and I'm not going to, first of all, we're going to talk about speaking and specifically how you can grow your movement with your message. Okay. That's both traditional speaking income, but that's also your divine expression and putting out a frequency that your ideal avatar can resonate with and connect to. Because I'll tell you something, every day they're waking up and they're looking for that frequency. They're like, where is she at? Where's he at? Where's she at? Where's he at? And all you got to do is broadcast your authentic voice. You, beneath the layers of insecurity, beneath the layers of fear of rejection. That voice is that's all you got to do.
For you right now.
We are. Because I'm not making a whole bunch of sense, but something's about the in my voice is like, oh, I gotta listen just one more to give him another second because there's a frequency here.
Bring it home. He always does.
And I am gonna bring it home because I want people to know that, like, we're going to talk about that stuff. So speaking specifically, we're going to talk about events. We're running in-person events because we see the need for in-person human connection as AI is continuing to take over more roles in our organizations and business. People value access, personal touch, connection, something that they can only catch from you, not just what they can be taught from you. Okay. Did y'all catch that? And so that's what I'm going to be talking about at this summit. But the mentality, the main thing is that you walk away, not just believing, experiencing,
embodying,
not just believing, not just hoping, not just, I think I can, but experiencing from the connections in the room, from the way we facilitate and lovingly invite you into action, that you would get to experience the abundance of service that's available for you, and that you would get business growth, not just from the conference, but at the conference. That's what my hope and intention and how I'm showing up is going to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think that what so many emerging leaders are desperate for is a model for how to be and how to operate and how to amplify that resonates with who they are. And I'm here to do it for you all day long. I mean, if you look at everything that I have just publicly omitted, not as a victim, as an empowered female on this service to you, saying, yeah, this is my stuff. This is how I'm overcoming it. This is what I was afraid of. Here's how I navigated it. This is the process. And showing up in a way that it can be true without it being, oh my God, Darryll, you wouldn't believe what happened this weekend. It was so hard, right? Like, or transactional. Like, oh, Darryll, this thing happened this weekend, but I'm not going to really tell you what it is, but I made it into a course that you can buy, go right now, right? There's a lot of different behavior types online right now. And my type of emerging leaders can't find themselves in any of the models. And it's like, well, I don't really know what else to do. So I guess I'll just go buy all of Hormozi's stuff and copy him because it seems like that's what I should be doing. And like, yes, you can look at him and what he's done objectively. You can have discernment. You can see the framework for it. You can pull the pieces that resonate with you, but nobody can replace you and your authenticity and the message that you are here to deliver right now because of all the stuff that you went through to get to this moment. And so if Darryll can model it, if I can model it, if you like Dave better, or you like Chad better, or Ryan better, or Jen Axe better, or Amber Bardette better, or Lynn Carpenter, or all of the other people that are coming to speak at this event, find your person, find your model, and allow that to build your self-trust and your confidence to use your voice. And then when Darryll comes on stage to talk to you about what's actually moving right now in the speaking world, so that you can properly position yourself in your alignment with your core message and your positioning, ready to go with your strategy in hand, while really being a part of this bigger experience of belonging that I'm telling you, go find another event that's going to give you the kind of belonging and intimacy. It's like, good luck with it. There are very few, maybe Darryll's, and that's it. But I think that it's important to rub shoulders with those people, to see what you can model, and to activate that real giant within, to quote Tony Robbins from back in the day. So, Darryll, with the few minutes we have left, like, what else is on your heart to share, my friend?
Man, I want to dip my toe in a little speaking nugget. I want to dip my toe in a speaking nugget, but you brought up so much about the event, and I think that the most powerful thing people can do is find a way to be in the room, because everything you just said, and I want to just double click on the the safety. In the atmosphere. Perfect. I want you to double click on the safety in the atmosphere, because I was taught, and I believe it is a principle in leadership, that you are only as powerful as your willingness to be corrected. Like, you're only as powerful as you are vulnerable. Like, you have to be honest about where you are now if you're going to get to where you want to go next. And the space that you're in has a lot to do with your ability to be honest. And think about how many conferences you go to and you consume all this information and you sort of jockey in position, and you're not actually honest with where you are. You're not getting guided from where you are to your next steps, because the culture and the agenda of the event and how they've cultivated their environment is very transactionally driven. And there's not space to think, breathe, connect, there's not a culture of honesty, or from the stage, there's definitely not the level of transparency and vulnerability you'll see from the people in this room. I know, because I travel and speak at events all over the place. And I know this is why I keep coming to this event, because I'm like, hey, if I can come somewhere as a speaker where I can just let it rip and not worry about somebody in the back with a clipboard being like, oh my God, is this check our continuing education budget? Like, by the way, I do that, so I don't want to like turn that business away. So like, I speak to my Fortune 100 companies and stuff. So like, I know how to play in that environment. But in this environment, at the Elevate series, there is no box. There is nobody in the back with a clipboard. And Darryll's just going to let it rip. And so I'm telling you, if you want to catch something from me, not just be taught, like if you want to catch what it takes to be in demand in this industry, I give it to you. meet me in Colorado at the Elevate series.
Same, same.
So that's
And
kind of
we have
my parting commercial. Yeah.
No, we have that same commitment from all of the speakers. And
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful. I mean, the event sales page will have all of the details. You get to see the speakers, the
Totally.
people that are coming, the agenda. I am thorough to a fault. Just as Darryl, I'm
Totally.
constantly sending him like 20-minute videos.
Totally.
But I want you to be eyes wide open. I want you to
Right.
trust your intuition. Like, if there's something here for you and you've been feeling it at whatever segment of this
Yes.
live stream that you saw, if there's something here for you, I hope you'll follow that whisper, because it's trying to uproot you and place you into a room of leadership, because we are the people that are consciously curating what's going to happen
Yes.
next with AI, with the
Love that.
economy, with entrepreneurship. It's happening real time in this room. And it's the last event of its kind that I'm going to be running for a little bit. We're going to be focused on more intimate, curated retreats moving forward, small rooms for the really big players. Doesn't mean you have to have a big business. I'm actually a lot of times more interested in the people who are just starting, that have these big aspirations and big nerves around it too. But you are welcome in my room, no matter your size, no matter your beliefs. If you have a whisper, you belong in this room. Darryl, I can't wait to spend some good quality time, get one of those big Darryl embraces on stage soon. And just thanks for your time and for your transparency here. You know, I always
Totally.
respect that so much.
Totally. One parting word for me is just like, got to thank my people for showing up. I see DJ, I see you, Millionaire Barber, I see you, Jane, I see you, DJ again, bro. Oh my God, he's on here commenting out the way. Harmony, Gabby,
Nancy, good to have you
Matthew,
here.
Ada. Like, just want to say thank you to everybody, because I
Awesome.
feel the support. And I just want to extra nudge you, man. Join us. There's something special happening here. This is one of 3 people that I talk to on a regular basis because I trust her. So that's it, y'all. I love you. And I hope to see you in Colorado. Peace.
Have a great week, everyone.
Yep.